Welcome back to my channel for my weekly human design transit report. Today is May 9th and the next transit starts tomorrow. If you want to find out what's happening as of today, you can go and watch the transit report from last week because I talked about what's happening right today quite extensively there. And tomorrow, the sun is going to move into the gate 23 and the earth is going to move into the gate 43. So this is really interesting because the nodes have already been in the 2343 since March 15th, and they're going to be there until the end of July 30th. So this channel has already been being lit up for almost 2 months, and it's going to still be lit up for another couple of months. So this is an important energy to come to understand. I have talked about it in a few of the previous transit reports, but let's dive into it more, especially since now the sun and the earth are there. So this is part of the knowing circuit, and it's the part that connects the ajna to the throat. So the 43 is on the bottom of the ajna and the 23 is on the top of the throat. So this is in the knowing circuit. It's individual circuitry, so it's here to be different. It's here to bring change. It's mutative, which means that it's about change. It's about bringing in new things that haven't already been created before. This is where the evolutionary impulse of humanity is in the individual circuitry, and in particular in the knowing circuit, because the knowing circuit right here is just directly plugged into superconsciousness, okay? It's just like that 61 is just beaming up and plugging right into superconsciousness. So the energy is going to come in through that head and ajna, down through the ajna, down into this channel that we're looking at right now. So let's dive into each one of these. So the 43 is known colloquially as the genius freak gate. And in both traditional human design and quantum human design, it's known as insight. So this is a place that is collecting the breakthrough ideas, the out-of-the-box possibilities, the new potentials, the different ways of seeing things, the different ways of understanding, different ways of thinking and perceiving and feeling than what a lot of other people are feeling. Okay, that's what individual circuitry is about. And it's really on that leading edge. It's the leading edge energy. And the 43 is called the genius freak gate, not because the information is genius or freak necessarily. It's more about how other people respond to that energy. So let's talk about that for a minute. We can look back through the course of history and see people that have come up with really genius ideas that were far ahead of their time, right? And so at the time, they were considered freaks. I mean, Galileo is a perfect example, right? Total genius, completely seen as a freak during his time. And so there's lots of examples that are like that, people who are really ahead of their time. I think of Yoko Ono and the music that she was doing back when she was with John Lennon. And that is music that came more into vogue much later, but early on, it was considered pretty freakish. So the thing to know about your ideas that come in this way is if you do choose to express them, they be considered freakish because people might not be ready for them, or it might not be the right opportunity or the right environment, or they might not be ready. So in order for your ideas to be received as genius, they need to be expressed at the right time with the right people, potentially with the right preparation. I'm thinking of some simple things that might help bring this home a little bit. So for example, yoga. Right? Yoga in India and in Asia has been around for thousands of years. It's not a new development. But when it was first brought to the United States, a lot of people thought it was pretty freakish. What is this weird thing that you're turning your body into a pretzel and that's supposed to make you feel better or something, right? It was met with a certain amount of open-heartedness and interest and curiosity, and it was also met with a certain amount of skepticism and doubt. Yet when the yoga masters first started coming in the 1960s and 1970s, there was a receptivity among a certain population that were able to bring it in as early adopters. And now yoga is spread out all over the United States. It's something that pretty much everybody's heard of and probably seen pictures of, even if they've never done it. And it's not really considered freakish anymore. Maybe you want to do it, maybe you don't want to do it, but you're like, oh yeah, there's that ancient wisdom tradition from India. Yes, we know what that is. But then I think about my own experience when I was first introduced to Kundalini yoga, when I went to my first retreat with my teacher. And after the first day, I was like, what did I get myself into? Because I thought I was just going for what I considered regular yoga, right? Where we do asanas, which are the postures, right? And we were doing something that was completely different that I had never done before. And so for me, initially, it was kind of freakish. And my teacher even said, yeah, this is considered the Wid yoga. That's her accent because she grew up in the Falkland Islands, Wid yoga. And I was like, it is pretty weird. And over the course of even that 5 days in my first retreat, by the time I got to the end of it, I was like, this is total genius. I've never experienced anything that was able to change my energy in this particular way this quickly. And so I became an adopter. Even though I hadn't been seeking out that particular experience, I was open to what could happen, right? I was open to how I could benefit from receiving this particular kind of yoga that I had never done before. So you can think about examples in your own life, maybe when you were first exposed to something and you went, whoa, that's kind of weird. But then as you got familiar with it, or maybe it was something that you applied and started to use in your life, it became something that was a huge benefit for you and that you started practicing yourself. Maybe so much so that you even started sharing it with other people. That's what I did with Kundalini yoga. Now I share it with, my clients and my friends, and lots of people have started practicing it, or at least exploring it to see if they like it, as a result. I think of TED Talks as potentially a place where we could get these kind of ideas, right? An idea worth sharing, an idea worth spreading. So TED Talks can be places where really different leading edge ideas can show up, and you can be like, wow, that had never occurred to me. I never thought about things that way. So this week, while that 43 is getting lit up double time, pay attention to what kind of ideas are coming to you that maybe are new ideas that you haven't received before. Or maybe you'll have a spiral around to some ideas that previously you thought, oh, that's kind of weird. And now you're like, oh, actually, I'm starting to really get what that's about. I'm interested in what that is. And I love the way that Spirit is really giving us the energetic support we need at this really challenging period during our human experience, where we're needing to change some fundamental things very fundamentally. And so I really believe that it's through us receiving these ideas, these epiphanies, these potentials, these possibilities, these new perceptions, new ways of seeing old issues or old problems or old relationships, new ways of actually being able to meet what's here for us today and to have breakthroughs into what is possible. Just remember that this whole channel is projected, which means it doesn't have any power going to it, right? It's not connected to any of the engines in the chart. So it is projected. And when a part of the chart is projected, it means that it works best when it's recognized. Okay, when it's asked for. So that's something to be paying attention to as you are receiving these ideas. And if you want to share them with other people, is have you been recognized as having something to share? Have people agreed to hear what you have to say? And if not, then maybe it's not the right time. And maybe you'll be receiving things during this week while this channel is being lit up by the earth and the sun. But maybe you're going to hold on to them until it's more of the right time. And maybe you're going to need to prepare yourself, or maybe you're going to need to prepare the people you want to share this with so that it can be received as the true genius that it is, the the true potential breakthrough that it is. And so you'll want to curate the ideas that you get during this time and not necessarily just, blurt them out like I might with an open throat, blurt them out as soon as you get the opportunity to share them with someone. Now, the sun is lighting up the gate 23, which is here at the top of the throat. And it is through this channel that this kind of abstract, idea or abstract concept or perception that has come in from superconsciousness is going to be translated into words. So there's a translation as well as a transmission process that happens as these new thought forms, these new possibilities, could be images, could be feelings, drop in, and then they are going to be expressed through the throat, through the 23. So the 23 in traditional human design is assimilation, and in quantum human design is transmission. So what these two terms have in common is assimilation. It's like bringing in these really leading edge and breakthrough ideas and going, okay, how is that going to translate out into the culture? How is it going to translate out to other people? How can we take this and assimilate it to some degree inside of a framework so that we can understand what this is about? And I think transmission is really underscoring that there is something very leading edge that's coming in, and then it has to be transmitted, and it's going to be transmitted through the throat, through words. This always makes me think of Esther Hicks, who says that she doesn't channel Abraham. She says that she translates Abraham. So she receives complete thought forms from Abraham, and then she translates that and then transmits it out through her own voice, right? So you could think of it that way, is all of us are receiving thought forms and images and possibilities, and this is going to be really heightened during this transit, although it will continue with us because the nodes are going to be there for quite some time. But the sun is lighting up the possibility of being able to express through words what this, leading edge idea is that's coming in through the 43. So you might want to take a little time to write these things down. You can mind map it if that's helpful to you, or just do stream of consciousness so that you're priming the pump of your ability to put things that are maybe more abstract into words. So you can practice doing that before you decide to share that with other people while you're waiting for it to be the right time. So part of your preparation can be writing this down, or even drawing pieces and connecting with what the different aspects of it are. And it can be really worth taking the time to do that so that by the time you translate that into words to other people, you'll have a really clear idea about what it is that you're wanting to express, rather than just having it come through and out your mouth, which can happen when you've got that open head. Most of us have an open head, and then there's a pressure to express. So when we've got that open head, and then we've got the defined head in ajna, there's even more pressure to express those ideas. So having the awareness of how important it is to express at the right time with the right people in the right situation, when you're fully prepared and they're fully ready and they've already recognized you, right? You want to be on top of that pressure so that it doesn't force you to be doing things at a time that's really not right. Also happening tomorrow is that Mercury is going to go retrograde, and Mercury is in the 20. Mercury has been in the 20 and is going to be in the 20 and then into the 8, and then back into the 20 until it goes direct on June 2nd. And even then it's going to be in the 20 still until June 20th. So Mercury has really lighting up these two particular gates. They're both on the throat, and the 20 is patience. It's also individual circuitry. Actually, both of these are individual circuitry. The 20 is part of complicated wiring, so I'm not going to go into detail about that, but it's known as patience because it's got that energy that can come from the 3420, right, which is the channel of the manifesting generator, or it can come from the 10, or it can come from the 57. So there's a lot of different ways that energy can be coming into that 20. And the thing about it is that a lot of times that energy is fast and it's powerful. And so the 20 is there to say, okay, let's pause. And again, make sure that if we're going to express, we're going to be expressing at the right time with the right people in the right situation. So the 20 is constantly kind of giving us that caution and saying, yes, we have important things to express, but we're going to make sure that we do it at the right time. And then the 8, which is on the throat, but it is connected to the one that's coming off the G center, is about contribution. It's about the culmination of the knowing circuit coming up through the central channel and coming out through the throat. And so it's about what is our contribution in the world? What is it that we're here that is only our special thing that we can bring into the world? And part of that, of course, is simply going to be you being you, which is why it's mate is self-expression, right? Or purpose in quantum human design. But it is this sense of being able to express from a sense of identity, from a sense of love and lovability, and from direction in life. And so it culminates in this sense of I am here to contribute myself first and foremost, and then I'm here to contribute out into ways that I act and engage with other people and with the world. That is my particular way of helping to upgrade all of our lives. And so that 8 is going to be really available for you. And we're coming back over at Mercury, which is all about communication, right? So both of these are about communication. And so is that 4323. But Mercury is just really lighting up our communication about, making sure that if we're going at the right time, that we're pausing, that we're taking account of the power of all the energy that wants to be expressed, but then also looking at, okay, how can I bring out my contribution even more? How can I go back out over the ways that I've contributed in the past, and to see what of those have really worked for me, and what are the ones that I don't really ever want to do again, and what are the things that I've maybe had a desire to contribute in that way, but I never have, at least not up until now. And so Mercury is just going to be giving you a lot of time to be going back over those themes over the next 3 to 5 weeks. So we've got a lot of individual circuitry that's being lit up right now. And pay attention to what you also hear from other people, because everybody is going to be influenced by these energies. And when we are in a Mercury retrograde, it's more about going back over communication than it is about necessarily starting new communication. But then we've got that 4323, which is like, supercharged during this next week. And so be paying attention to if other people share ideas with you that you might initially might be like, that's weird, or that's freakish, and be like, well, let's just hold on to that, because who knows, maybe that really is some kind of genius and we're not quite up to speed with what it is. And one of the ways that you can interact with other people is just be asking them about the ideas that are coming through for them this week. You could play a little game where you each share about what are some miraculous things that you can imagine right now? What are some really out of the box possibilities that are brewing inside of you right now? And you could, encourage each other to be sharing that. It's one of the ways you could really maximize the benefit that you can get from this transit right now. Okay, that's my report for this week. Many blessings. Much love.